George Clooney's sister, Adelia Ada Zeidler, is dead at the age of 65, and this heartbreaking news has pulled back the curtain on a deeply personal story of love, resilience, sacrifice, and quiet strength that existed far away from Hollywood's bright lights. Ada Zeidler passed away on December 19, 2025, after a long, painful, and exhausting battle with cancer, a battle she faced with extraordinary bravery, unwavering dignity, and a sense of humor that never fully left her, even as her body grew weaker. She died peacefully in Kentucky, surrounded by family who loved her fiercely, closing the final chapter on a life that may have unfolded outside the spotlight, but left a lasting and undeniable mark on everyone who truly knew her. For George Clooney, this loss is not just personal, it is devastating. In an emotional statement that quickly spread across the world, George described his sister as his hero, saying he had never met anyone so brave. Those words alone stunned fans. George Clooney, a man known for his effortless charm, sharp wit, and emotional control, allowed the world to see his grief. He spoke openly about how Ada faced cancer with courage and humor, refusing to let the disease define her, refusing to surrender her spirit. He shared how deeply she will be missed, not only by him, but by his wife, Amal Clooney, and by everyone who was fortunate enough to know her. For many fans, this was the first time they were hearing Ada's name, and yet her story reveals a woman whose life was rich, meaningful, and deeply impactful, even without fame. To truly understand the weight of this loss, it's important to understand who Adelia Ada Zeidler really was. Born on May 2, 1960, Ada was the first child of Nick Clooney, a respected journalist and television host, and Nina Bruce Warren, a writer with a sharp mind and creative soul. Ada grew up in a household where conversation mattered, curiosity was encouraged, and ideas were constantly explored. This was not a family chasing celebrity, it was a family rooted in storytelling, education, and thoughtful engagement with the world. From an early age, Ada stood out. She was observant, intelligent, artistic, and deeply empathetic. She was the big sister, the one who paid attention, who remembered birthdays, who noticed when something felt off, and who offered honesty without cruelty. Long before George Clooney ever dreamed of Hollywood, Ada was already shaping the values that would ground him for life. While George eventually gravitated toward acting and the unpredictable, high-pressure world of fame, Ada chose a very different path. She did not chase red carpets, magazine covers, or applause. Instead, she pursued a life centered on education, creativity, and community. Ada became a talented artist and later an elementary school art teacher in Augusta, Kentucky. It was there that she found her true calling. In the classroom, Ada was more than a teacher. She was a guide, a listener, and a safe presence. She believed art was not about perfection, talent, or rules. It was about expression, honesty, and courage. She often told her students that mistakes were simply ideas taking a different direction. For children who struggled with confidence, language, or self-worth, her classroom became a refuge. Many former students would later say that Ada was the first adult who made them feel truly seen. Her intelligence had always been clear. As a young woman, Ada earned recognition as a National Merit Scholar, a prestigious academic honor that reflected her sharp mind and dedication to learning. Yet, she never bragged about it. She valued curiosity over credentials, kindness over recognition. She joined local book clubs, supported community art programs, and remained deeply involved in the cultural life of her town. She believed that small communities mattered, that art mattered, and that education could quietly change lives. Ada's life, however, was also marked by deep and lasting heartbreak. In 1987, she married Norman Zeidler, a retired Army captain. Their wedding was a warm reflection of family closeness and love. George Clooney participated by reading scripture, and their famous aunt, Rosemary Clooney, performed at the reception. It was a moment filled with hope, laughter, and the sense of a future unfolding. Ada and Norman built a life together based on respect, humor, and shared values. They welcomed 2 children, Nick and Allison, and created a home rooted in stability and love. But in 2004, tragedy struck when Norman died suddenly of a heart attack. Ada was left a widow far too young, with 2 children still needing guidance, comfort, and strength. Those close to her say this moment revealed Ada's true character more than anything else. She grieved deeply, privately, and honestly, but she did not allow grief to consume her. Instead, she became fiercely devoted to her children, putting their emotional well-being above everything else. She balanced work, parenting, and loss with quiet determination, never asking for attention or sympathy. Friends remember that even during her hardest days, Ada still showed up for others. She listened, she laughed when she could, she created art, she kept moving forward, not because it was easy, but because her children needed her. Despite her brother's rise to international fame, Ada never leaned into celebrity. She lived modestly, privately, and intentionally. She attended important moments in her family life, including George and Amal Clooney's wedding in Venice in 2014, but she always returned home to her own life. To Ada, family mattered more than fame, and authenticity mattered more than attention. Those who knew George Clooney growing up often say Ada played a crucial role in shaping the man he became. She was someone who knew him before the awards, before the headlines, before the pressure. She grounded him, she challenged him, she reminded him of where he came from. Even as George became one of the most recognizable faces in the world, Ada remained simply his sister, honest, supportive, and real. When Ada was diagnosed with cancer, she approached it the same way she approached life. She asked questions, she stayed informed, she faced reality head-on. Treatments were long, painful, and draining. There were good days and devastating days. But through it all, she refused to let illness steal her identity. According to family members, Ada often cracked jokes during hospital visits, lightening the mood even when things were difficult. She continued to ask about other people, about books, about art, about her children's lives. She was still a mother, still a sister, still a teacher, still herself. As her strength slowly faded, her spirit did not. Those closest to her say she remained curious, engaged, and loving until the very end. When news of her death became public, the response was immediate and emotional. Fans around the world shared condolences, many saying they were deeply moved by George Clooney's tribute and by the story of a woman who lived with such quiet courage. Celebrities and public figures echoed similar sentiments, reminding everyone that loss touches all lives, regardless of wealth or fame. A funeral service was held on December 22, 2025, in Kentucky. It was intimate, heartfelt, and deeply personal. Family, friends, former students, and community members gathered to remember Ada not as a celebrity relative, but as a teacher, an artist, a mother, and a friend. Stories were shared about her kindness, her humor, her patience, and the way she made people feel valued. In keeping with her lifelong love of learning, memorial contributions were directed toward a local library rather than elaborate displays. It was a simple, meaningful tribute to a woman who believed knowledge, creativity, and community were among life's greatest gifts. For George Clooney, this loss marks a deeply emotional chapter. Behind the polished interviews and iconic film roles is a brother grieving someone who helped shape his life long before the world ever knew his name. Adelia Zeidler. Ada's story is powerful, not because of fame, but because of humanity. She chose purpose over attention, service over spotlight, and resilience over despair. She influenced countless lives quietly through classrooms, conversations, and compassion.
In her passing, the world has learned about a woman who never sought recognition, yet now stands as a symbol of courage, love, and quiet strength. Ada Zeidler's legacy lives on through her children, her students, her art, and the deep love she shared with her family. Make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more celebrity updates just like this.